Here I am again. Conor McGregor is out of 303 versus Micheal Chandler with an injury.
These are words no MMA fan ever wanted to hear. The worst of the worst has happened. We've been hearing about it for the past couple of days. You know, the UFC's been pulling down fight videos, stop promoting it. We had Conor McGregor put something on his Instagram talking about when you're out, you're out. And then Ariel Wani spoke about the vibes not being good. The UFC is sending out feelers to see who would be willing and open to taking a short notice fight. And I saw a couple memes on Twitter talking about the worst thing you could see is this ball fuck have to tell us about both of the fights coming out. But even worse news than that, he goes on to tell us something else.
The main event is Alex Pereira, former not only UFC middleweight champion, he's also the first and only fighter to win both middleweight and light heavyweight titles in UFC history. He also did it in the shortest amount of time. He did it in 736 days and 7 fights. He finished 7 of 9 wins by knockout, which is a 78% finish rate, and won 10 of his last 11 fights, and he is facing former UFC light heavyweight champion Jiri Procházka, who has an unbelievable...
My boy, Jiri fucking Procházka. I love this dude. I am sad about Micheal Chandler versus Conor McGregor not coming through. Unfortunately, McGregor got injured or some shit, but I'm happy at least the fight's gonna happen later on in the year. I've heard a rumor that the August date is when Conor's gonna make his comeback, which is gonna make like 4 or 5 years Conor's been out. This is just terrible. But I'm happy to see the rematch between Alex Pereira versus Jiri Procházka. I fucking love Jiri. I'm gaining more and more respect for Alex Pereira because his short turnaround and him willing to fight fucking anybody. I really don't think he's gonna win against a more well-rounded grappler. I think DC or John Jones or Ankalaev would fucking smoke Alex Pereira, but you love to see it. This is the type of behavior I look for in MMA fighters, and it's sad the community does not rally and appreciate these traits in MMA fighters. They don't give them their credit when they do shit like this, when they do step up on short notice and take risky matchups. Again, this is the second time he's fighting Jiri. Yuri's the top dog of this fucking division, man. Yuri's a dangerous fight no matter who you are.
23 first-round wins. He has 20... The co-main event will be number 3 ranked Brian Ortega, who has the second most finishes in featherweight history and the second most submissions in featherweight history. He won Performance of the Night 8 times, and he will be taking on rising superstar Diego Lopes.
This is an absolute banger matchup. Me personally, I don't know if it's a better matchup than Hill versus Carlos Ulberg, but for me, I've been saying this for a long time. I've been waiting for Brian Ortega to get the fuck out the rankings. Don't get me wrong, they're probably only gonna bump him down to like rank 4 or 5 or some shit, but I am very excited to see what the fuck Diego Lopes can do. This guy, I think he's good everywhere, and I'm serious about that. And then the scary thing about him is he's good everywhere, and he's physically there. He's strong, he's fast, he's powerful. These are the combinations you want to see in a fucking fighter. Dana White's now telling us that, unfortunately, Jamal Hill is out of the fight with a knee injury. As much as I hate Jamal Salty Man Hill, but as much as I do hate him, I do like the fact that he's trying to come back quick. But let that knee injury heal, and we'll see you fight later on this year, man. But stepping in on short notice, Anthony Lionheart Smith, this fucking guy. People are going to be hyping this guy up after he got a fucking win over some guy who doesn't know how to defend a fucking guillotine. And Anthony Smith's going to go, on paper, I'm better than him. I don't want to hear that bullshit. Not trying to hear it. Not trying to see it. As sad as I am about this, I'm still happy that the fights are still on. The fights that have been replaced are good fights. They're not bad fights in the slightest. Moving on to Ariel Helwani. Conor McGregor versus Micheal Chandler at 303 on June 29th has been canceled per Dana White. The new main event is Alex Pereira versus Jiri Procházka for the lightweight title. McGregor versus Chandler will be rebooked for later on this year. The fight has been pushed back because McGregor suffered an injury right before last week's press conference in Dublin, He just goes on to explain that the UFC tried to save it as best they could. They couldn't. Um, the plug was pulled. Feelers were sent out. You know, as much as I do like this matchup, there is a couple problems. As Ariel Helwani states in the last paragraph, there weren't a ton of options. Pereira versus Procházka was always a top choice. Feelers were sent out last week, but they were hurdleless. Mainly, Pereira's in Australia. He recently you saw him fighting with Tai Tuivasa, ranked heavyweight, and is on a Seminole tour and he's getting over a couple broken toes. But he stepped up, and Procházka's always available. I'm happy this fight's happening, but it does worry me because Pereira, he's on a scimitar. He might not be able to make weight. He's coming after a couple broken toes. And Jiri, I don't know if you can make a quick turnaround like Jiri if you took the damage he did against Rakic. Rakic fucking lit up his legs, man. I don't want Jiri coming into this fight with like stress fractures. That's something I really don't want to fucking see. But worst comes to worst, it's gonna have to happen. That's the news for the moment. UFC replaced it with Alex Pereira versus Jiri Procházka and Diego Lopes versus the Eagle Man, Brian Ortega. The fight will be rebooked hopefully. They booked the fight with Carlos Ulberg versus Anthony Smith. I'm really hoping this Conor fight happens. I don't want the last fight of Conor McGregor's career happening due to a leg break. That's not a good way to end it. That'll be all. I'm going to make a separate videos about. I'm going to make a fucking video about Khamzat Chimaev. I'm going to him pulling out of the Whitaker fight as well. That's not a good look, man. This is just shit you don't want to see in the UFC, bro. Two big pullouts. Good replacements with Whitaker fighting Ikram. That's what I was hoping. I saw Emre Guru didn't like that. I'm like, that's probably the best fight that can happen right now. Don't get me wrong, he doesn't deserve the step up from unranked to fucking Whitaker. But hey, man, a lot of life is just opportunity, and opportunity comes at the worst times. You just got to take it when it comes, bro.